Hello and welcome to One Man Think Tank. This one is for the leftists out there, so if this isn't your cup of tea, feel free to skip out. I have made this video the night before 2nd Tuesday, so keep in mind as I record this I have no idea of the results. Sanders could do amazing, or it could be the end of his campaign. However, given the fallout of Super Tuesday, with many people feeling lost and confused after what happens after a Sanders defeat, I thought I would make a short video on a plan for the progressive/socialist movement in a Biden-Trump world. Step 0. Keep strong. Don't let this defeat make you feel as though all is lost. Keep in mind, in 4 years, we went from the most fringe progressive policies being raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour and legalizing weed. Now it includes Medicare for all, a federal job guarantee, forgiving all student loan and medical debt. Hell, socialism is back in the American mainstream in a way it hasn't been since the 1930s. 4 years, and we nearly took control of the most powerful office in the world. That is amazing, and the movement is only growing. This was not the final battle. This was our opening salvo. Step 1. Break the two-party system. Actually, this is Step 1A, because there is a little bit of a caveat. Step 1B. Ensure a democratic trifecta in 2020. Oh, stop booing. You're wondering how I can say destroy the two-party system and also dictate support of the Democrats in the same breath. Because, frustratingly, we have two separate things to consider outside of an ideological victory. The climate and people's lives. And voting for the people who will make some effort to improve both are significantly better than the people who have a blood oath to destroy them. And let's be frank here, if a Sanders loss teaches us anything, it's that accelerationism doesn't work. Not to mention, a democratic trifecta would be able to move our politics leftward, even if it would be less than under a Sanders administration, with them passing things such as a $15 minimum wage and a ban of right-to-work laws. These things would help move us from the defense to the offense. And, keep this in mind, the more left we move, the more moderate Democrats will start to look more and more like Republicans. They can also help us by ferrying themselves to their own demise by the passage of a single reform, ranked choice voting. If you are watching this video, I'll assume you know the basics of how ranked choice voting works. If you don't, all you need to know in this case is that it eliminates the spoiler effect caused by third parties. So if it's installed nationwide, progressives can finally split off and challenge Democrats without the risk of helping Republicans. This is also totally possible to do in a Republican-controlled Congress as well, following the method used by Maine and now Massachusetts, using states with ballot initiatives to force them to adopt the reform. Our main goal should be enacting it across the West Coast, in Democratic stronghold states like California and Washington, to further push the party and the country to the left, and possibly obtain control of the state legislatures, to show how our policies work at the state level, which can then be replicated at the national level. Step 2. Create our own institutions. We must also work to create our own institutions, not bound to the establishment will, which have been weaponized against us at every turn. The main one being the mainstream media, which has at best shown the entrenched bias against progressivism, and at worst a machine dedicated to killing it. We must create our own institutions to counter them, such as cooperative news networks, worker cooperatives, and eventually our own party. However, we must be sure that they are not tools for our own biases or explicitly based in propaganda. Otherwise, they won't receive the patronage of outsiders, which will be required for them to have the effect we desire. People don't go to coffee shops for politics, they go for coffee. Step 3. Picking our electoral fights. As long as the Democratic Party leadership is under neoliberal control, we will have to pick our fights. This will become even worse should the Democrats remain unable to obtain a federal trifecta in 2020, as we will become the opposition inside of the opposition. At that point, we must turn our attention to the state level for the next 4 years. So we will assume that best for the Democrats, they regain control of the federal government. Picking our fights is not the same as giving up on certain beliefs. Rather, we must focus on mobilizing our energy and limited political power on achieving certain goals. For this, we must consider 4 big factors. Militancy, popular support amongst Americans for a policy. This can include things such as agitation or pre-existing movements. Utility, this is how a policy could affect our movement, whether it grows it, makes it easier for us to win elections, or similar bases. Clout, how much this policy will be felt and seen by the average American. This includes something like MEDICARE for all, which allows every American all of a sudden to have healthcare free at the point of access, as compared with something like student loan debt forgiveness, which will mostly benefit those with student loan debt. It won't have an active bonus to those who have already paid it off or never had it to start with. And lastly, will. How long people will be willing to fight for this goal. This means moments of sustained protest. It overlaps with militancy to an extent, but Americans may heavily support something like tuition-free college. That doesn't mean they will turn out in mass protest for it. Now, the top choice on this list is, of course, MEDICARE for all, scoring high marks in all 4 ratings. It should be our number 1 choice to prove the power of the progressive movement, even when we are outside of power. Number 2 is ranked choice voting, as mentioned before. It scores high in utility and clout for us, and this will be key for our future successes, especially in the formation of a new party. Third is a federal job guarantee, which scores high in all but the last category of will. Many people want it, but many people are too busy working or suffering the ill side effects of unemployment to be able to fight for it. However, it will help us significantly in the future, ending the incessant questions about loss of jobs related to big, thoughtful policies such as MEDICARE for all, or even just the creation of a public credit registry. And fourth, and I believe our last big goal, should be college for all, coupled with student loan debt forgiveness, of course. Scoring high in everything but utility, this will help revitalize 3 generations on the idea of social programs and progressivism, with the burden of student loan debt forever lifted from their shoulders. Step 4. When they go low, we go left. We cannot stop the leftward march in our policies just because we didn't win the election. In fact, our leftward march forces the Overton window left. MEDICARE for all has forced Democrats to acknowledge that the public option is a first step, not an end goal. College for all begot partisan adoption of tuition-free community college across the states. All while pundits and politicians called our ideas pie in the sky. Our response must be to keep dragging them left. By the time 2024 comes around, we can bring more radical ideas like banning private utilities, nationalizing the banks, and even possibly a national health service into the mainstream. We may even be able to go further than that. It just matters how hard we push. And lastly, step 5, election 2024. We have no idea what 2024 will look like. Think about how much has changed in the first 4 years of Trump. Previously, concrete norms were shattered, a left-wing wave has swept the nation, and a national law has begun to peel back the seemingly unchallengeable, tough-on-crime prison system. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how that happened either, but we are doing is in preparation to take this guy's office, to enact sweeping change. And let me leave you with this. Whether it's Biden or Trump, there probably won't be an incumbent in 2024. Now, with that all being said, normally I'd give the usual spiel about like, commenting, subscribing, and notifications. I think I kind of still did. But that's not what this video is about. It is about providing a little little guideway on what can be done next, on how much we can accomplish in 4 years, even when we're not in power, even if we were the opposition of the opposition, and how we can finally overturn this system which has shown systemic bias against us and our movement. But what else can I say but have a wonderful day.